Kolgash the lone survivor. As the Ariadne's fury sailed along the Typhoon Shore, the crew noticed something floating in the water up ahead. As they got closer, they saw that it was an orc who was barely conscious and clinging to a piece of driftwood. The captain, John Redbeard Blackthorn, ordered the ship to come to a stop and for a rope ladder to be lowered. The first mate, Jack, and the rest of the crew carefully lifted the orc on board, noting that he was heavily wounded and covered in cuts and bruises. The orc was taken below deck to the infirmary, where the party tended to his injuries and tried to make him comfortable. As they worked, the orc began to tell them his story, explaining how his village was attacked by undead androids and dark mages, and how he barely managed to escape. As the party tended to Kolgash's wounds in the infirmary of the Ariadne's fury, Jack and Redbeard listened intently as the orc told his story. I was returning to our village, Mogor's Mead Hall, from a hunting trip when I saw something in the water further out to sea, Kolgash said weakly. At first, I thought it was just a piece of debris, but as it got closer, I realized it was something more sinister. It was a twisted mockery of life, its metal frame visible beneath torn and ragged flesh. Its glowing eyes and mechanical limbs spoke of a sinister intelligence, and I knew I didn't want to tangle with it. Kolgash nodded grimly. I knew I had to get back to the village and warn my kin, so I made my way back as quickly as I could. But when I arrived, I saw a shady figure clad in dark robes standing on the beach. They must have been the one who summoned the android, because as soon as I saw them, the darkness fell over the village and the screams began. Kolgash shuddered as he remembered the horrors of the battle. It was chaos. I couldn't see anything in the darkness, but I could hear the sound of metal clashing and the screams of my kin all around me. I tried to fight, but I was hit several times and I knew I couldn't hold out for long. So I made a desperate escape towards the sea, hoping to find a way to get help. I don't know how I managed to survive, but I kept moving until I found a piece of driftwood and started drifting in the hope of being rescued. It was a long and painful journey, but I knew I had to keep going. Do you have any idea who they were? Jack asked. No, I didn't get a good look at their face, Kolgash replied. But I know it was one of the dark mages. They've been causing trouble in these parts for months now, and we've heard rumors that they have a hidden fortress in the mountains to the north. We're sorry for what happened, Kolgash, Redbeard said gravely. We'll do everything we can to bring justice to those responsible. Kolgash nodded gratefully. I appreciate everything you're doing for me, Captain. I just hope we can get to my village in time to rescue my kin and put an end to the dark mages' plans. Redbeard patted Kolgash on the shoulder. Don't worry, we'll get there. And we won't stop until we've brought justice to those responsible. I'll set a course for Mogor's Mead Hall right away. As Redbeard gave the orders to change course, Jack turned to Kolgash. Do you have any idea what the dark mages are planning to do with your village? Kolgash shook his head. I don't know for sure, but I've heard rumors that they're using the androids to infiltrate and permanently darken peaceful villages along the Typhoon Shore. They must be planning to do the same to my village. We won't let that happen, Redbeard said firmly. We'll stop them, no matter what it takes. Kolgash nodded, grateful for the party's support. Together, they set off towards Mogor's Mead Hall, determined to put an end to the dark mages' evil plans and bring light back to the village. As the Ariadne's fury sailed towards Mogor's Mead Hall, Kolgash couldn't shake the feeling of dread in the pit of his stomach. He knew that the dark mages were powerful and ruthless, and he wasn't sure if they were prepared for what they were about to face. But as the village came into view, Kolgash's worst fears were confirmed. The village was still engulfed in eternal darkness, and there was no sign of life. It's all my fault, Kolgash said, his voice shaking. If only I had gotten back to the village sooner, maybe I could have stopped this from happening. Redbeard put a comforting hand on Kolgash's shoulder. It's not your fault, my friend. You did everything you could to warn your kin and get help. It's those dark mages and their androids who are responsible for this, not you. Redbeard and the crew spent a few days on the site, doing everything they could to help the villagers. But the only thing they could do was to collect the dead and burn the bodies, trying to give the fallen some small measure of dignity in their final rest. It was a heartbreaking and gruesome task, and everyone was filled with grief and anger at the senseless destruction of the once thriving village. We have to do something about this, Redbeard said as they gathered around the campfire at night. We can't let the dark mages get away with this. We have to stop them, no matter what it takes. Agreed, Jack said, his fists clenched in anger. We can't let them win. We have to take them down. I'm heading inlands to my tribe and Harguth, the orc shaman, Kolgash said as he packed his belongings. I have to share the grim news with them and see if they can help us in our quest to stop the Dark Mages. I expect Harguth to go to war, Kolgash continued. He is a powerful shaman and a fierce warrior, and he won't stand for the Dark Mages attacking our village. I'm sure he'll do everything he can to help us in our mission. Redbeard nodded. I'll head to the free city of Stormreach and gather the support of the League of Pirates. We'll need all the help we can get if we hope to stand a chance against the Dark Mages and their androids. But even with the orcs and the pirates on our side, we won't be able to fight the Mages without additional help, Kolgash pointed out. They're too powerful and their magic is too strong. We'll need something or someone to give us an edge in the battle. Redbeard nodded thoughtfully. You're right. We'll have to find a way to get the upper hand. Maybe there's someone or something out there that can help us defeat the Dark Mages once and for all. We have to keep searching and never give up hope, Kolgash said determinedly. We'll find a way to stop the Dark Mages and bring justice to those responsible. Together, the party set off on their separate paths, determined to do whatever it took to defeat the Dark Mages and bring peace back to Mogor's Mead Hall and to whole Typhoon Shore.